Right, Mikayla, I'm taking a look now at yours project from week 7, and it looks like you've written yours in APA. Your title page looks very good. And you have the title repeated here again. You are not did not page number it though, so that's kind of a minor thing, but it's something you should always do, especially for classwork. You should always page number. Most teachers want you to page number, I think. Also, excess spacing here should all be double spaced. The first line should be indented. Again, that's all minor stuff that's not going to really count against you, but I'm just pointing it out just for your own future knowledge. So, all right, let's see what you did here with part 1. In 2003, time management was much of an issue as it is today. Who knew that applying teaching and how to be better self-fundamental? That's not a new topic. It should be a comma here after conversation. But Catherine Tyler took the time to dissect and really find the issues that possibly one of the roots. Time management has always been okay. So probably a little bit longer lead in than you really needed here, but that's okay. No, I'd rather it be too long than not long enough at all. So dive into article "Beat the Clock" by Catherine Tyler as she guides us through some findings and solutions and ways employers can help their employees to manage their time at work. Okay, so you don't really have a solid thesis statement the way the exemplar shows to do it. So that's a little bit of an issue here. Your topic, I think, there is pretty clear. Your genre, I think, is probably the genre of the article is informational, which I can tell by the verbs you use about her and what she does. Took the time to dissect and find issues. Um, Purpose, I think, is clear as well. Audience, purpose, and subject. Now, this is where sometimes students um, have trouble. So I need to see who is your audience for your paper. So you say she guides us, but who is us, right? Um, Employers can better help their employees to manage it. So my concern is that I'm not sure if you have changed, if your audience here is different from the original audience of Tyler's. Um, it's just not totally clear here who your audience is because you mentioned employers, you mentioned employees. So is it for them? Which one of them is it for? Um, okay, so that's not quite clear. So that's going to be a little bit of a problem there. You do allude to historical context here, and so I can give you credit for that. Okay, you start this one with a quote. It's actually best to start with a point and then let the quote back up the point, right? And the point would be delineated by the thesis statement. So that's why again why it's so important to use the exemplar, because the exemplar shows you how to provide 3 major points in the thesis statement and then have the body paragraphs follow those thesis points in the same order. Right, so as she guides us through some findings and solutions and ways employers can better help their families manage it. Okay, so while many companies pride themselves on the work put out by the employees, most could use some improvements, and we can find that improvement. Okay, core ideas there. So let's get to the details. All right, so you do have some details. You're making some points. You're backing up your points with your sources, like here. Okay. Okay, this looks like it might be a hint at a problem in her writing that you might have found, so that's good. Um, Now we're talking about employers of large businesses. So yeah, it's just not clear who your audience is. So that's a big issue. But you do have details. You do back up the details with evidence, so that's good. So let's go ahead then and skip down to It's kind of long there, but that's all right. Let's skip down to your references. Now that's not formatted properly, but otherwise um, it's not too bad. But it should have been hanging indented. Um, Otherwise, you're doing pretty good with your citations. Uh, so that's pretty good. Um, the only problem is that I'm also not seeing you use, since you wrote this in APA, I should be seeing the year after Tyler's name every time you cite her. And you're not doing that. You only have, like right here is the only place where you actually cite her with the year. Um, so here, see here, you don't. Also, since you're referring to Wetmore, who is somebody that she referred to in her article, there's a specific way you're supposed to do that. And that entails in the parenthetical here putting something like referenced in Tyler, because Wetmore's who you're actually quoting rather than Tyler herself. So instead of this saying Tyler, you should have introduced who Wetmore is, and then here said referenced in Tyler. Okay. Also, remember that, and this is a minor thing, but remember that whenever you have a parenthetical, the periods and even commas, when they're in those cases, should go after the parenthetical rather than still here. Okay. All right. So let's move on to your second article. Now, your second one is on a different submission, so I'm going to have to go backwards here and get that one. It really should have all been on one page, one document, but and a lot of times when people don't use the two documents, if you didn't use the exemplar, then I'm afraid I might not see your proper introduction to a new audience, which is what this is about here. Okay, so you did use APA again. Yeah, see, you didn't have an introduction to who the new audience is at all, so that has to be a 0. You just go straight into the new prayer paper. So let's see what you do with this. Wouldn't it be a dream to be able to make these letters? It's best to keep yourself out of the writing, out of the article. You don't want to say I, me, or my. Um, Here you're just mentioning employees again, so I have no idea who your new audience is. Okay. According to the article, HR professionals are. Okay, it's also best not to talk to your audience by using you, your. That's not good either. So you want to try to avoid that in future writing, professional type writing, or like for school and academic writing and stuff too. Okay, so you have some information here. You have some sources, but again, it's just not clear. Um, your differentiation doesn't seem to be real strong because, again, it's not real clear who your different audience is here. It seems like you're still just talking to employers and or employees, which is not very different from what you would have done in for part one. So, all right. So audience needs is I got to take a little bit off of that because I don't know who the second audience is. So I don't even know what their needs would be because you haven't specified that new audience. Um, okay. Your references is not properly hanging indented here. Instead, it's centered, so that shouldn't be that way. It should be left margin justified with hanging indent. Um, Any situation is also different, is not really different. Because again, I can't tell who your second audience is. I'll go ahead and give you okay on the meets on the writing style, conventions. Um, can't give those exceeds because they're barely really even meeting again because the audience isn't clear. Communication is clear. It's fine. You don't have any major writing errors or anything. Your citations, not bad, but not not like totally exceeds, but meets. We'll give it meets. All right, so you ended up with a B, and that's good. You still ended up with a decent grade. A B is a good grade, and that will pretty much be it. If you have questions or need help, as usual, just let me know, and that will do it for this video.